Time is the central constraint of large-scale public infrastructure. A poured foundation or a steel framework relies on a master schedule where thousands of moving parts must align perfectly. But when bad weather, supply chain failures, or logistics breakdowns occur, the timeline breaks down. Those lost hours immediately translate into severe financial liability. Under modern government contracts, efficiency is a legal requirement. Every single day a project runs past its scheduled completion date, the contractor begins incurring significant costs. This penalty is known as Liquidated and Ascertained Damages, or LAD. It is a pre-agreed mathematical formula written directly into the contract. It calculates the estimated financial losses the employer suffers for every day the facility isn't open for use. LAD takes the everyday friction of a delayed concrete pour or a missing permit and converts it into a rigid legal assessment. It is the core legal tool used by government agencies to ensure project accountability and protect public funds. Enforcing that penalty, however, requires a contract administrator to figure out exactly whose fault a delay really is. And pinpointing blame across a sprawling job site is rarely straightforward. This diagram shows 3 risk vectors that derail timelines: external disruptions, internal breakdowns, and employer variations. When these vectors hit simultaneously, the timeline tangles into a massive bottleneck, making it mathematically impossible to isolate a single point of failure. To understand how a contractor navigates these penalties, we have to look past the theoretical text of a contract and examine the compounding, unpredictable chaos of a live job site. This dynamic was put to the test during the construction of an 11-story headquarters facility in Kuala Lumpur. The contractor aggressively bid for the job, ultimately securing the contract for 40.2 million Malaysian ringgit. At roughly 2,100 ringgit per square meter, this rate was significantly below the market average of 2,800. This competitive bid saved the government 13.5 million ringgit upfront, but for the contractor, it meant they would be operating on a razor-thin profit margin. To complicate matters, the project was executed under a strict design and build framework. Unlike traditional contracts where the client hands over a finished set of blueprints, a design and build agreement places the absolute burden of both designing the building and its subsequent execution strictly on the contractor. Between the low-cost bid and the high-liability contract model, the contractor had no margin for error. Any disruption to the schedule would carry immediate financial consequences. Before a single foundation was poured, the project faced a massive logistical hurdle based entirely on geography. The site was located in a high-security urban zone. Specifically, it sat right next to the Parliament of Malaysia, an area characterized by strictly monitored infrastructure and constant security cordons. Moving heavy equipment and daily material deliveries into a construction site requires wide access. Attempting to maneuver through guarded barricades daily created immense logistical friction. Simply by existing in a strategic political hotspot, the project's risk profile was multiplied by factors completely outside the contractor's internal control. The first major blow to the timeline came from the street. Because of its proximity to Parliament, the main access road was subjected to sudden, undocumented closures. During major parliamentary sessions or large-scale civic events like Independence Day celebrations, the road would be completely shut down, sometimes filled with stationed military vehicles. This severed the site's primary artery. Fleets of trucks carrying highly time-sensitive materials, like batches of pre-mixed concrete, were repeatedly forced to turn back, wasting entire days of scheduled labor. At the same time, the local municipal authority, DBKL, designated the site as a priority location. This triggered relentless inspections that demanded constant accommodation from the contractor. Then, following heavy rainfall that caused minor erosion, DBKL issued an immediate stop works order. They mandated that the contractor halt progress to design and install a new crib wall, and later added a sudden directive requiring an on-site detention pond. These external civic mandates and environmental anomalies paralyzed the schedule, entirely bypassing the contractor's internal planning. While the contractor battled local authorities on the outside, a second wave of risks hit from the inside: internal supply chain breakdowns and direct employer changes. Mid-project, the employer issued instructions to swap a planned seminar hall for a multi-purpose hall, rendering previously approved designs obsolete. Simultaneously, the internal consulting engineer failed to deliver critical plans, and several specialist subcontractors delivered work that fell below project standards. To mitigate the damage, the contractor applied for 4 separate extensions of time. These were only partially granted, moving the deadline but not enough to cover the mounting delays. This chart maps the project's failure to meet the revised schedule. Despite completing the building, the project suffered an unexcused delay of 308 days. The contract's pre-agreed mathematical penalty was triggered. At a rate of 7,437 ringgit per day, the contractor was hit with a staggering fine totaling nearly 2.3 million ringgit. This collision of external urban chaos, internal mismanagement, and rigid legal obligations created a complex administrative dilemma. With millions in ringgit at stake, it raised one critical question. Should the penalty be strictly enforced to protect public funds, or was there a case for waiving the damages?